Welcome back to the Hawks Talk podcast, your source for everything about the Upper Valley Nighthawks and the NECBL. This is Season 3, Episode 10, First Impressions. I'm your host, Phoebe Winters, joined by co-hosts Caitlin, Beal, and Greg Fennell. Caitlin, Greg, how are we doing today?
Ready for ball. I'm absolutely ready for ball. After a weekend of nothing but rain, it's time to get started, and I'm really looking forward to it.
The Vermont weather coming in and it being just rain and rain and rain. I'm definitely excited for summer ball and for it to feel like summer ball.
The unfortunate thing is that you get first impressions that this is a place that's normally very wet, very rainy, which is not always necessarily the case. Now, we've had some summers, I think 2 of the last 3 summers, we've had at least 10 to 11 postponements because of the weather. So I guess it's just whatever cycle you get in. But living in here, in this part of the country, as long as I have, you realize that all you got to do is blink your eyes and things are going to change. So, yeah, we got drenched on Saturday, but everything will be dried out. And especially given the fact that the opening game is at a stadium where at least part of the field is artificial turf, we should be off and get a couple in here before the next time Mother Nature decides to dump on us.
I mean, it was definitely encouraging driving over to the studio this morning, seeing blue skies, a bright sun. I was like, okay, this feels like summer weather, not seeing any rain. But I wanted to ask you guys, it's our first day in the studio. We're finally getting to see the studio space. What are your guys' impressions?
This is cool. I mean, I didn't even know this was here. I was vaguely familiar with some of the stuff that Jam does through videos they've done with past players and things like that. I didn't know they had an audio studio down here. I was remarking before to my wife that the last time I was in here, upstairs was the offices for the Visiting Nurse Alliance of Vermont and New Hampshire, and my mother-in-law worked there. So we're talking a good 30 years. This place has been a district court, became VNA. Now Jam has taken over some of it. The Center for Cartoon Studies has taken over some of it. I like this. I mean, I could have some fun playing down here.
Yeah, definitely. This feels very official. I mean, pretty much the entire time we've been doing the podcast, we've been saying how excited we are to finally be in the studio, and here we are. So hopefully you guys are enjoying like the better quality. We'll have some videos, and hopefully we can get a little more creative with it now that we're finally all together.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping so. I mean, I'm feeling like Alex Cooper over here.
Oh my gosh, yes. We even have a couch, so maybe some days we'll do the podcast from the couch. That would feel very, very official.
I think especially once we start getting more players on, give it that more casual vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But I'd say all around, first impression of the studio is definitely very positive.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin, yesterday we got to see Maxfield Sports Complex for the first time to start doing our run-throughs before the first game. What did you think about the field and how the first run-through went?
Yeah, it was definitely cool to see the field for the first time. I mean, because with pictures, it's always hard to tell, especially when we're setting up all the cameras and everything. You can't really get a good feel for it, but it is exciting that we're updating a lot of our equipment this year, but at the same time, everything needs to be set up from scratch. And so there was definitely a lot of technical difficulties yesterday that we're going to work through today. Thankfully, we got, I think, the worst of it done, thanks to the help of some other people from broadcast across the league. So thank you to you guys. But yeah, we need to make sure that all the cameras are showing up on our feeds because we got some new cameras this year, actually courtesy of Jam Studio. So we definitely need to make sure all of that is working today, but it was definitely good to meet everyone in person. And, it seems like it's going to be a good year.
Yeah.
I know we're going to be talking about it more on the podcast here, but here's another benefit of not having a home game for a week. Now you got all this time to work through the electronics, and especially given that broadcast on ESPN Plus are going to require probably a higher level of audio and video than maybe we're used to in doing this via Zoom. Now you've got one more benefit aside from getting to see parts of New England this week.
No, I'm definitely excited. I mean, first off, huge shout out to Ryan Hearn of the
Yes, thank you, Ryan.
He was our savior yesterday. To fill you in, Greg, we were just struggling so much with the new equipment. As Caitlin said, it's brand new. It's all ESPN regulated so that every team in the NECBL now has the same equipment. So thankfully, we were able to rely on other broadcast crews around the NECBL for some help to set it up. I'm definitely very excited to go back today and actually do like a full run through. I think we're definitely feeling a lot more confident with the equipment, having it all set up. Our producer, Brendan Bolin, he was working so hard yesterday. I'm like actually so glad he was there and like willing to put in the time and the work to troubleshoot everything. But I think going into today, we should get everything working. It'll be smooth. And like you said, we do have a week before that first home game, Saturday, June 7th, and it'll actually be available on ESPN Plus for the fans at home that want to tune into the game. But before they make that home debut, they're going to hit the road for 3 away games. First up is at Fraser Field against the North Shore Navigators. Now, Greg, I'm not sure if you've been to Fraser Field before, but what should Caitlin and I and the fans kind of expect from going to North Shore?
Strangely enough, Fraser Field is one of the places in the league that my wife and I have yet to go to. So I can't really speak from experience in that regard. But I was researching a little bit. I find it kind of interesting to look at some of the facilities that the other teams play in this league. And Fraser Field is one of the few in the NECBL that you could call a stadium. Maybe Goodall Park in Sanford could be another one. Here's a place that if anybody who's familiar with Holman Stadium in Nashua, New Hampshire, and for folks up in this part of the country, about the only time that you would experience Holman is maybe if you were chasing Lebanon Post 22 down for the State American Legion playoffs. But they're similar in that they were both built in the early 1940s, Works Progress Administration projects directly out of the Great Depression. So they have some similarities in structure and similarities in their use. Both were ballparks that have hosted minor league baseball in the past. In fact, they had franchises, the Red Sox in Lynn and the Dodgers in Nashua, that played each other at one point, either in the 40s or the 50s. And there are some familiar players to old cranks like me who've read about this, not seen it in person, but Don Newcomb, Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, those days for the Dodgers, got their early professional experiences in Nashua. Lynn is an interesting field in that I believe the infield is artificial turf, but the outfield is grass. I don't think I've seen that anywhere. I mean, some of the games I've been watching on the NCAA tournament, you might find a place that's grass in the playing surface and maybe artificial in foul territory. I think I've seen that at least once. But it's a place that has hosted a little bit of minor league baseball, but mostly youth baseball, college, and of course the Navigators first in the Futures League, and now for I think about 5-6 years in the NECBL. Their teams tend to be fairly good, fairly competitive, and Fraser is the site of Upper Valley's last success, or at least deepest penetration in the NECBL playoffs 3 years ago when they got to the semifinals before the combination of lack of healthy bodies and some lousy weather. There's that theme again. Finally ended the season. So it's a good place to start. Got to start somewhere. So, let's get the 2-hour road trip in.
Now, last season, the Navigators were a part of the Coastal Division, along with the Newport Gulls, the Schooners, the Sharks, and the Ocean State Waves. But this season, the NECBL has decided to move away from that 3-division setup in favor of a 2-division setup. They have the North and the South divisions, North having 6 teams, South having 7. Now, Greg, since you have seen that 3-division play, what are your thoughts on this switch to a 2-division play?
I think it's a good idea because what it does is it's getting more teams concentrated into a geographic area. You're going to get more games against those teams. Hence, you're going to have fewer hideously long road trips. Guys who come up here are actually kind of surprised how short the road trips are compared to what they're used to in college. They might have a 6, 8, 10-hour bus drive. Here, the longest trip is 3.5, maybe 4 hours by bus. The trip to Martha's Vineyard will be unique. Enjoy it. Have a great time because you'll take the bus down to Woods Hole, I think Woods Hole, Mass, and take a ferry over. So
I know we just got the schedule of the time we have to arrive at the field, and it's like 6 hours, and it's 6 hours from leaving the field to getting on the ferry, and then you still have to go. So,
and did they? I don't know if they told you about the trip back yet. You have to get on a charter because the ferry stops running around 8:30.
Oh, lovely.
So anyway, enjoy. I hope you have a good time. But as for the 2-division setup, now we get North Adams back. That's a 2-hour trip. I love going down to North Adams. Beautiful place to see a ball game. Let's see. I think everybody else who's in the North has been in the North, so it's teams that you're normally used to seeing. I like the notion of playing, 4, 5, 6 games against Vermont, Sanford, where the trips are going to be reasonable. Okay. Going down to Lynn, 2 hours. Going to Sanford, 2 hours. All back roads, but still 2 hours. Vermont is 60 minutes. Keene is 75 minutes. 2 hours to North Adams. So it may sound like, for those of you who have to take the bus, it may sound like it's a long day, but it's actually not that bad compared to going 3.5 to Newport or 6 to Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely bring up a good point about how it affects just the regular season. I want to talk a little bit about how it's going to affect the playoffs, and obviously we can get more into that when playoffs start getting closer. But essentially, this means that the top 4 teams with the best winning percentage from the North Division and the South Division will compete in the opening round of the playoffs. So that means for the Nighthawks, if they want to be able to compete in the playoffs this year, they have to end the regular season having the top 4 best winning percentage just among those 6 teams in the North. Maybe gives them a slight advantage than over the South because there's less teams within that division, less teams you have to have a better winning percentage against.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely an interesting aspect to how that's going to affect the playoff structure. But again, that's something we can get into closer to the end of the season. But so first game against North Shore Navigators, then they're headed to Keene to take on the Swamp Bats, which, Caitlin, that's actually your hometown. Now, I know you haven't been away that long, but are you excited to go back home?
Yeah, so I live about 30 minutes outside of Keene. So that's kind of the nearest city, if you would even call Keene a city to me. So I will be gone not even a week before I'm going back. So it'll be nice. My mom's coming to the game, so I'll get to see her. And I don't ever remember going to a Swamp Bats game growing up, which is crazy because I live so close to them. But apparently, I did ask my mom. I've been to one in my life. I just don't remember it. But I have heard from, local people around that the Swamp Bats is a really, really good culture. They have a lot of volunteers. It sounds like they have some pretty good food there, too, which we'll have to try. And, yeah, it's right in kind of the Keene High School backyard, pretty much, of the high
pretty
school.
much. Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely.
The missus likes it. We tend to. It's the easiest road trip for us, and usually what we end up doing is just bringing our lawn chairs, going down the left field line, staying behind the out of bounds line, and waving to all the pitchers as they walk from the dugout down to the bullpen. We had great conversations with our guys last year. I think Keene is the team that everybody else in the NECBL wants to be. From an organizational standpoint. Newport also the same way. They set an excellent standard from the start. They've been there almost the entire history of the league. They do things well, and they make people want to be out there. And the baseball is usually good. On top of that, Keene is one of those wackadoodle fields in terms of dimensions. 425 down the right field line, just because that's the way the fence is. But you get to the power alleys, and it's maybe 350, 360. It's strange, very strange. But for college baseball players, especially right-handed hitters at Alumni Field, they're probably drooling as they go up to the plate. Just groove one for me, and I'll just bunt it over the fence. That's about what it gets to be sometimes. But we've also seen some players make some fantastic defensive plays up against that fence. I remember a kid, I think he was from Georgia, University of Georgia, playing for Keene a couple of years ago, made a fantastic leaping catch against the fence in left field. So you tend to get high-scoring games there, and you tend to get a fair number of home runs. Hint to those who've never been there before, park as far away from the fence as possible, or else have a very good auto insurance agent.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can imagine more than a few cars have been dented by home runs over the years there.
Good to know. Good advice, viewers, if you're heading to that game.
I noticed your wife was saying that they have salads at Alumni Field.
Okay.
They have salads? I've missed that. I'm so used to eating sausage and onions all the time.
Unheart healthy food.
Okay,
well, there you go.
I think that Phoebe and I should do a food series of all the
think we
games
should.
because everyone is telling us we need to try maple creamies.
Yes.
So there should be something at every field that we try, and we should do a little series of that. So,
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I'll put a couple of bugs in your ear. Okay.
Okay.
We've made the trip to Mystic. It's been like 9 or 10 years since we did it, but it's still at the same high school. The time we went, they had a portable pizza oven there. Ooh. So if they have that again, fantastic. And Vermont, they haven't done it quite as much lately, but a couple of times we've been there, and there's been a truck that sells poutine. Now, are you familiar with what that is?
Yes.
Okay. And it's quite good, very salty, but it is quite good.
I mean, who doesn't love salt?
Well, you get to be 62, and I'll tell you that you may want to get away from it a little bit. But yeah, if you've never had French fries with gravy and cheese curds before, it's a huge Quebec thing that has really started to filter its way down here in the past 10, 15, 20 years. So those are the two that I would say watch out for if you want to do a food series, because I think it'd be a cool idea.
Yeah.
I think it would be really fun. I want to try a New England lobster roll.
Yes. You have to. If you've never had a lobster roll before?
I have in Baltimore.
Okay, but you need a New England one.
What?
Guys, I'm kind of like a lobster snob, so I'm like, I need my lobster roll specific.
I gotta relate a story then, especially since my wife is here. Back in, I forget what year it was. I think it was 97. Was that our technical honeymoon? I believe it was. Yeah. Okay. We took 10 days and drove up the Pacific Coast Highway from San Francisco to Oregon back down to Central Valley. One day we had to go down to Monterey because I wanted to walk around Pebble Beach. And at the end of the day, we went to downtown Monterey, found a restaurant, and decided to have dinner. What does my wife order on the as far away from New Hampshire as you could possibly get for dinner? Not only did she order a lobster, it had been flown in from Maine that day.
No.
And it was probably less expensive than anything else that was offered on the menu at the time. So we go 3,000 miles to the opposite coast, and she eats what she could have had here and probably paid more for here.
Yeah, it was less expensive.
Yeah. So, yeah, go figure. So.
Well, what always stresses me out is some gas stations near me sell lobster rolls. Ooh. And I don't know who is eating a lobster.
It's kind of like gas station sushi. I wouldn't recommend that at all.
No, so.
Although I have heard, in Hawaii, the 7-Elevens have, sushi rolls, handheld rolls, and they're actually, decent.
You know, I actually have tried one of those, and it was pretty good. Yeah, because I feel like I was getting a lot of videos of people saying, oh, you should try this. Right? And I did. And it was fine.
So, updating the bucket list, maple creamies.
Yes.
Actually, my mom just told me Elliot in the morning was talking about Vermont maple creamies this morning.
Yeah. A lot of places you can get them around here.
Mm-hmm. So, got to try that.
Pizza from Mystic.
Yeah, let's hope they have that.
Poutine from Vermont.
Yes.
I'm starting a list. Yeah. So, guys, if you want to see this, let us know. We'll do a series, maybe on the Instagram, because we can't really bring the food into the studio unless it's days old.
The nice thing around here is that you do tend to see food trucks at a lot of these places. Upper Valley will bring one in pretty much every game. I was down at Danbury, tried to see a game at Danbury before storms got in the way last year, and they had a couple of food trucks there. I haven't been to Bristol yet. Nice stadium there, by the way. I'm sure they have a nice arrangement there, and I can't imagine what you're going to find on the vineyard. We got clams off the shore that morning. Who knows?
Oh, imagine.
I'm getting carried away here.
That was another thing. I was thinking. I've never had clam chowder. I don't know that I'd enjoy it, but maybe just being in New England. Maybe that'll sway me.
On a cold day, it's awesome.
So we're building out our list. If anyone wants to send us ideas for this bucket list, it doesn't have to be food related, but that's definitely appreciated. Mm-hmm. We'll have to talk to Margot about getting our food Instagram series going.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we covered the Navigators, the Keene Swamp Bats. Next on the Nighthawks schedule, before they even make it home, they're headed to Good Old Park to face the Sanford Mariners. So a lot of traveling within that first week of games. And I know we did discuss this on one of our first episodes, just looking at the schedule ahead of time. But what would you guys say are the positives and the negatives of starting off the season with 3 road games? Caitlin, if you want to start us off.
Yeah, definitely. Right off the bat, I feel like you kind of are forced to work together as a team. You're forced in close proximity on that bus. You kind of have to talk to the players. So I feel like that will start giving them a little bit of camaraderie at the very beginning. But obviously, it's kind of crazy. They had their first practice yesterday. They have a practice today. Mm-hmm. And then they're just on the road. So they're really not getting a good feel of Maxfield Sports Complex. So that could definitely be a downside of especially since all the fields, as Greg was saying, are a little bit different. Getting the feel for our home field is really important. So that could be something they're missing out a little bit on.
And you both have already related one of the things that's critical to you is getting the equipment working. And I wouldn't want to be in your position. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes come Saturday and the home opener and not being fully confident in what you're working with, because you'll start looking like me in no time. So yeah, you're getting the benefit of what free time you have when you're not on a bus, being able to get this fine-tuned to the point that when you get here Saturday for that home opener with Vermont, and you have that ESPN Plus broadcast that you have to take care of, not just the usual other electronic stuff you have to deal with. And by the way, seeing all the equipment you have here, my radio experience was vinyl. Okay, I was doing slip cues 40 years ago, so I'm more, or I should say, less than useless here. Getting the confidence that equipment is working, a lot less stress. So having those 3 games on the road at first will give you the time to get that equipment going. You'll be a lot more comfortable come Saturday.
Yeah. We're definitely looking forward to, on Thursday, our day off, we're going to go in and do a full run through with is he our ESPN coordinator? Is that his title? So he's going to be in to really go over any questions if we have any issues, and he'll be there for our first game on ESPN Plus.
In person or remotely?
In person.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that'll be
helpful, because we were calling him yesterday, and obviously it's hard to fully go through the issues when you're not there. So that'll be great. I think Thursday will be probably our big day to just really make sure everything is going, do a full run through of a game. But yeah, I can't imagine if our first day was the first game. That would be a struggle.
So that's the interesting thing is that you talk about you're asking about what's the good thing about not playing at home for a week versus the bad things. We're dealing all with stuff that's off the field. That's the interesting thing about it. I mean, the on the field stuff is just going to happen like that. I mean, even though they only have the 2 days of practice, they have, all these guys have 10 years, 12 years of baseball experience at various levels, increasing levels. So that part of it, I have a feeling, is just going to happen quickly. I mean, there's only so many ways you can turn a double play. There are only so many ways that you can throw a curveball. So all of that is going to be second nature, I would suspect, and will be nice and easy. Everything else, the benefits of, obviously, getting to know each other, getting the equipment working, getting used to the 2-hour, at most, in most cases, bus trip. You'll knock that out of the way, no problem.
Yeah. I think one thing, the fatigue of having to be on the road, but as you said, it's not nearly as long as those road trips that they're used to with college play. But I think it is a nice opportunity to start getting that bonding going with the team. It's not necessarily kind of understanding that communication on the field, but I think getting to know who you're playing with really well kind of really relates to the game, while it's about building that culture within the dugout, within the bullpen. So I think having that bus ride to start off is going to be huge for them, and I think for us, getting to see, since all the teams have the same equipment, getting to see how other teams operate it on the road first, get that kind of visual learning aspect before we're doing it on our own for the first time. And we're definitely very thankful that we'll have PJ there to guide us through during our first home game.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know, but Phoebe's actually doing play-by-play this year for the team, and then
Hot damn.
and then for the road games, you're doing color, correct?
Yes. So with the NECBL, the setup is that the home broadcaster does the first 3 innings. They do the play-by-play, and I'll be adding color, and then 4th inning is when we switch, and then the home broadcaster calls the last inning.
Okay.
So it's 3 and 3, and then
it's kind of cool. We had Ian Benke on the podcast earlier this year, and I never actually sat in and asked how it worked. One of the nice things about the changes going in the press box this year is they've taken some of the equipment that really doesn't need to be in the broadcast booth and moved it into the main part of the press box, so that those of you who are doing the broadcast don't have to worry about those of us coming in who need a bottle of water or something to that effect. But on the downside, I never had a chance to ask him how he set this up. I just kind of got the impression from the games I saw webcasted that the team's broadcasters shared the duties, which it's more of an efficient way of doing it anyway. Then you occasionally, and I don't think we have this issue anymore, have the radio crew maybe from one of these teams. Keene was usually the one that would bring a radio station up. Unfortunately, they're not doing it anymore from what I understand. So not only did you have the broadcast people and all that other garbage stuck in the broadcast booth, then you had to squeeze two radio guys in between me and the person doing the music and the analytics, and you got Ray next to me in with the scoreboard. It's like we're all trying to elbow each other, trying to get a little bit of room to do our jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot better situation that you're running into this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will say from my experience doing summer baseball with the Bethesda Big Train last summer, the setup was kind of similar to what you were talking about. So for all our home games, we were doing a TV broadcast, and then road games, we'd bring our own equipment and we'd do a radio show. And every team within the league was kind of different. Like some of them just didn't have the staff or the equipment to go on the road and do those games. But like you said, it's like finding a space. There were a lot of places where we'd literally be a little table set up outside of the fence. So you're out in the elements, like your papers are blowing around. Mm-hmm. So I think that's something that's really special about the NECBL is that everyone has the same equipment. No one has like kind of an advantage of having a better broadcast. Like we're all on the same level there. And I think it's nice to be able to work with the broadcasters from all the different teams and make those connections. Mm-hmm. Everyone calls a little bit differently. So it's definitely a great experience to be able to call with many different personalities, many different people. And it's kind of exciting that we have just like one broadcast for the whole league, kind of.
I mean, cherish the opportunities that you have here. 40 years ago, when I'm trying to get into broadcasting, there was no summer baseball outside of the Cape for the most part. Mm-hmm. You really had to know somebody to get that opportunity, and I had no idea what to do. I just wanted a radio job where I could call sports. And when I finally landed one, I realized, you know what? I like living up here in the sticks. I don't want to go back to the big city, and everything changed from there. You have all the summer baseball. You have independent league baseball. You have various levels of hockey. You have minor league basketball now. There are so many different ways in which you can gain your experience and at the same time share that experience with other people that you're working with. You can learn from each other. It's going to benefit you down the road in whatever profession you decide to chase.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I mean, first game tomorrow, it doesn't even really feel real. But
no, it does not.
Once the first pitch gets going, it'll just click right in.
Yeah,
You'll
hopefully
be comfortable.
Yeah,
and it won't rain. It's supposed to be a nice day, so you're in luck.
I'm really excited for the 80-degree weather on Wednesday.
Oh my God.
You're ready for it?
I'm ready
I'm
for it.
Seriously?
That's a little too hot for me.
I've been running around in sweats all weekend long just trying to get comfortable in the house, see the forecast hitting 80 and maybe 90 by Wednesday. Okay, yeah, it's New England again. Here we go. So, on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
I think that'll just make it feel a little bit more like home, so that's what I'm excited for.
Don't get homesick.
Oh, no, not yet.
So much better up here, trust me.
I'm enjoying it. I was telling Caitlin, my drive up, thankfully no one was really driving behind me because I was like slowing down, like almost to a full stop just to like take it all in, like driving through the mountains. It was just
How
so
did you,
gorgeous.
I'm curious, what route did you take to get up here?
So for the most part, I was on the 95.
Okay.
Then I was on the Taconic State Parkway.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Going up through rural New York. I will say I didn't realize I was in New York for that long. I kept looking for like a different like state line.
That's an interesting route. I don't think that's ever, all the times that I've gone back to D.C., I don't think I've ever had it recommended to take Taconic. The only time we did was we actually were coming back from D.C., but wanted to go to North Adams to see a game. And it took us through there. We were through Williamstown, North Adams, boom, we're at the field. So that's the only time I've been on it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful parkway.
It's really pretty. I will say I changed my route when I stopped to get gas. I was like, what's going to get me there the fastest? And
Yes.
it was the Taconic State Parkway. That was really beautiful. Definitely better than looking at the 95.
Oh, God, yes.
Way
Yeah.
down.
I stay away from 95 as much as humanly possible.
But I've already mentioned this many times to Caitlin. On my drive in, I saw a sign, "Beware of moose," and I was shocked. I was like, I didn't realize there were moose up here.
They tend to hide. You don't see them very often. I think actually the last time I saw a moose, I was actually running on a rail trail in downtown Lebanon, training for a half marathon, and the damn thing cut me off as I was trying to come back in toward downtown Lebanon. And I'm seeing this. I don't know if it was a young male or a female, but it just comes loping down the hill onto the rail trail, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't think I wanted this for a running partner. So, about face and found another way to go. But you don't see moose around here very often.
No, I've never seen a moose my
yeah.
entire time, and I've lived here my entire life.
And my hope is that you never see one up close and personal, only from a distance.
Yes.
Because they are, they're built strange. All the weight is up here, spindly little legs like like a table below, and of course the heavy weight is right about eyeball level if you're driving a Honda like my wife and I do. So if you hit one of those things, you're not going to survive it. You better hope that you're driving around like in an SUV or a Hummer or something big, where it's going to take a piece out of the moose. So if you see a moose, see it from a distance, please, not while you're driving somewhere. That's why you see those signs.
Yeah.
And always brake for moose.
Yes.
If you see one.
Otherwise, you'll break the moose. So
you'll break
be
your
careful.
car.
Yeah. The moose will probably just go away and think, what was that?
Mm.
That and bears. Bears you don't see too often here either.
Oh, I see bears a lot actually at my house.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll usually try to go after the bird feeder,
Yep.
which my dad has rigged, so it's like literally in the middle of the yard, so they can't reach it. But one time I was on a bike ride, and it looked like a little puppy was, just ran out in front of me. Turns out, afterwards when we were kind of looking at it, there's the mama bear starting to come after them. So quickly rode away. But it's deceiving because they're so small and cute. But
even the 100-pounders aren't as cuddly as you might think they might be.
Yeah, so.
But fortunately, they only come out usually in the spring. You said you live a half hour from Keene. What town?
Like near Peterborough.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Now I can see why you consider Keene the big town. Okay.
Yeah, no, but because whenever people ask where I'm from, I always start with Keene, and then if they know that, then I'll go down to Peterborough, and then my town is even smaller.
So you're a Conval grad?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
Gotcha.
Indeed. Yeah.
Sorry, we're being New Hampshire here.
Yeah. Well, this is crazy. We've been talking for so long. Our first time in the studio, long episode.
I think it's having this setup that's making it feel a lot easier to just keep the conversation going. But I guess we can close it out with that. This has been season 3, episode 10 of the Hawks Talk podcast, First Impressions. Next week, we're going to be reviewing the first 3 games of the season and also previewing the Nighthawks home opener. I want to give a huge thank you to Keller Bradford and Matt Paws for joining us today. Thank you to everyone for tuning into this episode. Caitlin, Greg, and I have a lot of excitement planned for the podcast this season. I want to thank Caitlin Beal and Greg Fennell for joining me on the podcast. I'm Phoebe Winters, and this has been the Hawks Talk podcast.